So first up, this past week we did have the release of Deathloop coming out on the PS5 and PC. Zach here did pick it up for PC to give it a shot. Zach, how has Deathloop been treating you? Because from what I've seen, I know you kind of told me privately of a few possible game issues, whatever. But from what I've seen, the game is being reviewed and everyone's saying it's actually a really good game and it's exceeded a lot of expectations. Is that the same for you? And what's your thoughts on it?
Most definitely. Like Deathloop itself, the game and just its whole thing going on in mechanics, it is a just fantastic, fun game. The one thing I do say about it though, because I've seen some other just player reviews complain about it, is it's a game, if you want to actually enjoy it, you have to be willing to experiment with the game system and the different loadouts and whatnot. Because if you're just going to go in like a regular shooter and just bang, 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 follow the leads to kill the visionaries and just run straight through it and aren't willing to play with the world, don't pick up the game. It's not worth it because it's a very quick.
That's good to know.
If you're just going to do that, it's just a quick run through for the visionaries.
If you're set in your ways, the game's not going to be for you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Because like, one of the dumb things I was able to do early on before getting all the 4 unlocking powers and whatnot was there's a shop that's just called Candy and it's just filled with a bunch of gumball machines.
Nice. I
kicked a gumball machine and drove a bunch of gumballs on the board. I'd open a door and one of the what they're called internalists, just the normal walkers around, goes, "That's strange. Was that always open?" Walks in, hits the gumballs, and just falls on his ass. So I was just like, I don't know when else I'm ever going to use this, but that's nice to know.
That's actually really funny.
I just picture me in a firefight, see a gumball be, boom, see her so fall, turn around.
That's absolutely amazing.
So, I mean, there's things in the environment that if you're willing to play with the world and whatnot, it's a very fun game. Like, which you mentioned, I picked it up on PC because it is only on PlayStation 5 and PC at the time being. It will not release on any other systems until September of next year. So it's a whole year on those two. And again, if you are wanting to pick it up, if you have one, I would highly suggest the PlayStation 5 at this point versus PC, because one of the big things that people have been hating about the PC is the game engine that Arcane uses for Deathloop. It does not sit right on PCs. It messes up the frames and whatnot, causes screen stuttering, things like that. Eats up CPU for not top of the line rigs. Even high dollar rigs still have frame stuttering and whatnot trying to run.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's good to know.
So I mean, if you're real set on PC and frame rates, I would hold off on Deathloop until some patches come out and it fixes it eventually. If you honestly don't care about frames and just want to enjoy the game, by all means pick it up. Or if wait for Black Friday, where it'll probably be on sale. Probably be on sale like $10-$20 off probably.
It fits in that niche of, okay, yeah, that game will probably be on sale at Black Friday. You can always predict what will be on sale.
Well, as you said, it's reviewed very highly, because even the reviews of players who are complaining about the frame rates are almost all of them mentioning it's a fun game in and out from the bits they've touched, but the frame rates just kill it for them, so they're just going to set it down and come back to it once that's fixed. But very few have I had just say they just absolutely dislike the game, and it's mostly people who I said just run through it, follow the leads, kill everyone, and aren't willing to
experiment.
Yeah, play with the world.
I will say, I've seen a lot of people that, like what you're saying, has experimented really, say that, hey, this is a great game, exceed a lot of expectations, whatever, blah blah. The critics, are giving this game like some really high ratings, but then this game, unfortunately, this is still a culture that we are very much in. This game is getting very heavily user bombed.
Yeah.
So based on how you're talking and based, just from the little bit you've told me privately and here on the show, I feel like the user bombs are probably the people that not necessarily experiment. Because I follow one particular person on Twitter who just, he does a pretty good job tweeting out some news and stuff. And he picked up the game and he was complaining about losing like a golden gun or something after dying. And literally everyone in the comments was just like, the way that the situation he explained, everyone said, "Yo, dude, that's literally in the tutorial." Like,
yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, that's literally in the tutorial. Like, why didn't you just watch that? So I feel like the user bombing that's happening for Deathloop right now is one, a mix of Xbox players potentially being salty. Let's be real, and two, I guess people that's not experimenting.
I mean, that's what amazes me because like the first good hour, depending on how quickly you're running through it, is literally just tutorial introducing you to all the systems.
Right.
Because more or less the base setup is you wake up on a beach, you pick up stuff, you get killed, you wake up on the beach again. And it's just a constant loop. So the main game base is you're following leads to ideally kill the 8 visionaries to break the loop so you can free yourself from this constantly looping day. The trick is, though, you only get... there's 4 zones, and there's 4 times a day. You're not timed or anything. Once you're in a zone, it's going to stay at that time of day until you leave the zone. Mm-hmm. So if you want, just play around as much as you want. But each zone is set up differently based on what time of day you go there. And anything you've possibly done that's impactful enough in the previous areas during the day. And once you finish a day, it resets. You wake up on that beach again, and you lose everything. The way to prevent that is there's a resource called Residium. That's just an items off visionaries you kill and things like that you collect. And at the end of the day, if you survive, because I haven't died too often with a lot of loot, but most of the time when you die, you lose everything.
Right.
But luckily the game's nice, and you get 3 chances. You get 3 chances in each zone to die. If you die a third time, well, you're screwed up. But when you get to the last portion of the day, it's just like, all right, here's everything you've collected today. Use whatever Residium you want to keep your loadout. So you can go right back to the start of the beach, continue on with whatever loadout you have. So if you have a gun you really like, lock it in, keep it for the next day. So, I mean, it's a fun system. I've enjoyed messing around as I have acquired powers. Mm-hmm. You get so many more options to play around with. My favorite ability so far is the shift ability, which is just a short range teleport. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy it because I like running around with just a machete and...
right on. Going old school?
With the machete and the Magnum, which I can't think of what the Magnum's called right this moment. So I'm literally just shifting, cutting people, shift again, shoot.
Right.
And it's always entertaining because you can dual wield. So I can have a machete in one hand, gun in the other.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So yeah, no, the game's very enjoyable if you're really willing to mess around and experiment in the world, see what all you can ideally do. And like one of the big things I've said since we started talking about Deathloop is if you can move like they show in the trailers, and besides the bit of frame rates that sort of kills it about, can just about, if you control it right, do the movements they were showing off in the trailers of just move, kill, shift, kill, move, switch, go.
That's good to know, because I remember when Deathloop was like really first revealed, I actually remember you saying to me, maybe on this show or privately, that was one of your questions about the game. I remember you saying like, yeah, if you can actually move like they're showing, this game's gonna be pretty fun. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, just because just quick movement and being able to use the environment well, I always enjoy that in games. Yeah. And being to experiment and just play with it and see what happens.
Right. Now, this might be a dumb question, but how much is like, because I know they are, but how much is other players in a big factor in this? Because from what I've seen online, is like people can just come in and just fuck your shit up and just kind of ruin your day. Is that pretty much how it is all the time, or only some of the time, or what?
Well, you can actually turn it off if you really don't want to mess with it. Because what that's referencing,
that'd be good for Andy.
Yeah, what that's referencing is the other character, Juliana. She's the only other character in the game in viewpoint. Only your character, Colt, and Juliana are the only ones who retain memories from every loop.
Okay.
So they're the only ones aware of each day going through. And once you get to the main game, you can go and play Protect the Loop, where you play as Juliana, and it just puts you in people's games to murder them. And the only reason really to do that is just you want to mess with something other than single player, and by doing that, you increase your hunter rank, which unlocks outfits, for both Colt and Juliana. And I mean, it's can be annoying, but it can also be very fun because it becomes a thing of Juliana's whole thing is she can disguise herself as any of the NPCs in the game, but Juliana gets only one life, where as Colt you have three. I mean, if a Juliana manages to get into your game and just picks up a rifle or something and able to hide from you, yeah, sort of cheeky and not much you can do about it. But I mean, so far I haven't been reset too badly. I think only one time was it real bad, but it was a quick fix of just quickly run through. Because, as I said, it is a time loop game. Things pretty much progress the same way. It was just a pain of just repeating a good 15, 20 minutes, but wasn't too bad. But it can be fun because it's very much a game of what other people said, cat and mouse, of you figuring out where Juliana is, trying to outwit the Juliana to kill them before they kill you 3 times. And the game's even just gives you a know that, hey, someone's here. It literally pops up in the middle of the screen, Juliana's on the hunt, and you're just like, okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I mean, even in the tutorial it mentions it, the only time Juliana will actually appear is in a zone where a visionary is.
Okay.
So you don't really have to worry about it if there's no visionary in the area, but if you're trying to hunt down on one, I mean, it can become annoying. But you sort of have to deal with it anyway because she's technically one of the visionaries, so you got to fight her regardless in a loop.
Okay. Overall pretty solid game on PlayStation only by an Xbox company, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bethesda, Arcane, they pumped out a really good game. The only other thing I really want to mention with it is just it doesn't do a traditional storytelling. There is a story going on between all the dialogue between Colt and Juliana, since they're always on the radio together. But if you actually want to dive into the actual stories of each of the characters, Colt, Juliana, and the other visionaries, you actually have to be willing to look around and collect like documents, terminal messages, and audio logs if you actually want to find out why each of these people are actually here on this island and what's overall going on. Because the main story overall is just, if you don't look at that stuff, is Colt just having amnesia, figuring out what the heck's going on, trying to break the loop so he can get done with this bullshit.
You just get it over with and move on with his life.
Pretty much. Colt wakes up, he gets killed by Juliana once, and he's just like, fuck this shit.
This is fucking stupid. I hate this.
Yeah, pretty much. Colt's a very unenjoyable character.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of the gist that I've gathered online too, is that he's actually a pretty dope character.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because like in the very first part where Juliana, more or less during the tutorial, Juliana's just like, you can find your own way out, and you got. And the best part about it is, if you see in videos and whatnot, it shows like these white words just popping up everywhere, sort of like directing the player. Colt sees that.
Like the actual words popping up.
He actually sees that crap, and he addresses it.
That's great.
So like the first time it really happened, she's like, what is this shit? Am I losing my mind? And it's great because when he first wakes up, he's just like, where am I? Who am I? And he's walking around and just, at one point, it just starts pointing out, Colt. Colt? Is that me? Yeah, that's gotta be me. I'm Colt. And Juliana's like, are you finally back? I was like, yeah, this is Colt. They have Juliana and Colt have very good interactions. And Colt character is very entertaining, especially with the words he's saying, and they just address all of it. So yeah, it's very enjoyable dialogue and everything. And just even the bits of audio logs and things like that you find are also very enjoyable because they do it in a way for each of the characters to really engross the characters with the very little audio dialogue you hear from each of them while you're hunting them down.
So how many, okay, last 2 questions for me on this. How many hours have you dumped into this already? And with the time that you have played, if you had to just like give it a rating, what would you give it? Because obviously I know you would tell people to kind of hold off on buying until some patches are out if you're going to play it on PC, but I mean, what kind of rating would you give this thing?
As for my current rating, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10 personally, mostly just for my experience on the PC and the whole stuttering. Once that gets patched out, I'd probably give it an easy 9. As for how many hours I've put in currently, I've only put in about 8 or so in between work and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I think I'm like midway into the game in terms of actually killing off all the visionaries in a single loop. But
Gotcha. And key word, he said easy 9. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Sounds like they really created a pretty good game.
yeah.
Bethesda and Arcane.